Adrian Houser has been sent to Tampa Bay. Austin Slater is gone to New York, but Luis Robert Jr. is still here. Everyone else, Steven Wilson, Dan Altavilla, your favorite flavor of White Sox reliever, still here. We'll talk about the White Sox 2025 trade deadline right now on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox Nope, it's not a post-game show. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, presented to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Sign up and use code CHGO365. Bet $5, get $150 when you sign up. Welcome into Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson, my producer, Katie Duffy.
Hi.
Is this the show you've produced the least?
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
I think you've only done this 3 times?
Yeah, probably like 3 or 4 times.
So,
wow.
You know, it's usually Joey, sometimes Steven, sometimes Sarah, rarely you. So welcome.
Sorry, everyone.
The other side of Jerry Reinsdorf.
The other side of Jerry. Yeah, normally he's torturing me in other ways, so this is great.
Does it feel good?
It feels great. I feel fresh and
torture.
new. Yeah.
Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We are excited to have you here. Over 50 people already, so welcome in. Glad to have you. If you do have thoughts, let Katie know. Katie will star them, and at some point, we'll just let you guys vent, all right? I mean, that's the great thing about the 45 minutes here is I am basically your therapist. Lay down on the nearest couch, sit back, relax. We'll talk about the 2025 Major League Trade Deadline. Let's jump into what the White Sox did. Not much. We talked yesterday about their deal of Austin Slater being sent to the Yankees. They get a right-handed outfield bat who is already in their lineup. The White Sox get Gage Zeal, who I believe was assigned to Advanced A. He was pitching in Double-A for the Yankees, but I believe he's in Winston-Salem. I'll check, but I believe that's what Ian Eskridge said. The biggest thing that you could take away from Gage Zeal is that he throws strikes. He's a starter that throws strikes. If he doesn't make it as a starter, he's probably not a major leaguer. It's a little bit of a tightrope as a pipeline or as a prospect because, you know, maybe he hits a velocity jump and that's what kind of gets him over the edge to make the major leagues. But his stuff right now is And if he's not able to be pinpoint with his stuff, he could really fall off, a ledge. But for a guy that is worth about $750,000 for the rest of the year, Gage Zeal could possibly be a major leaguer. If not, he just helps you throw innings in the minor leagues. So it's a fine deal. Again, Ian Eskridge saying Gage Zeal has been assigned to Advanced A, Winston-Salem. He was pitching in Double-A, made a start for about 4 innings. Wasn't great, so I'm kind of happy to see Gage Zeal going to Advanced A. That deal was like a B+, right? Slater wasn't going to do anything important for the White Sox. You could call up Corey Julks. You could call up Dominic Fletcher to easily replace what Slater's doing. Maybe they won't have the 120-plus OPS that Slater has, but they'll get you to the end of the season, and that's really all that matters. Getz was able to turn Slater into Gage Zeal, who is going to be something for this team for the next 6 years, where Slater wasn't going to be a part of this organization at all. The other trade, Adrian Houser goes to the Rays. I see Victor Von Doom here saying no one wanted Houser, with the sly face emoji. At first, it didn't sound like that good of a trade. The trade was Adrian Houser to the Rays for Curtis Mead. Curtis Mead has played third base, second base, mostly first base this year, about like 43 games. He's played 19 at first base, then I think 9 at second base, and then around 9 at third base. However, it's come out that they've gotten 2 more players. So Houser goes to the Rays. The White Sox get Curtis Mead, infielder that will likely be on the team come August 1st. I think that him, Sosa are likely just battling out for the right-handed bat spot, you also have Josh Rojas, who I think will likely be cut due to them acquiring Mead. But they also get Davitt, Davitt, Davitt. What do you think, Katie? Davitt.
No, I'm lying to you.
He's
I don't
from
know.
Des Moines, Iowa.
Davitt, then.
Yeah, Duncan Davitt from Des Moines, Iowa. 18th rounder in 2022 out of the University of Iowa. He's been pitching in Double-A, has made some starts in Triple-A, 4 starts there, 20 innings pitched, a 6.30 ERA. Not good, but 24 strikeouts in 20 innings. In Double-A, Montgomery, 83 and 2/3 innings pitched, so he's already at 100 innings, which is fairly rare to see, guys going out and even throwing 100 innings. But a 3.55 ERA. He did have a little under a strikeout per inning, 81 strikeouts in 83 and 2/3 innings. But the whip was white, nice, 1.076. And the big thing that's similar to both David, whatever the hell the guy's name is, and Zeal, is that they're strike throwers as starters. So that Getz was looking for, and something the White Sox have struggled to have, is minor league starting pitching. That might not wow us, but also, again, they signed Adrian Hauser in the middle of May when he was pitching in AAA Round Rock, and they're able to turn him into 3 prospects that can help the organization this year, 2026, 2027. Davitt is probably the worst of the bunch, but he's still something. Will he pitch a White Sox game? But will he be pitching for the Knights for about a good 2 to 3 years? Yeah, let's go. Yeah, that's a good career, too. I don't want to shame anybody. But the other piece that I think is interesting, and we'll get more into Mead because he's like the main piece, is Ben Peoples. Ben Peoples is 6'1", 175, born May 1st, 2001, was drafted in the 22nd round of the 2019 draft. He was a prep pick from Gillis County High School, and Peoples has been very good this year with AAA Durham, a 2.65 ERA, 37 and a third innings pitched, 39 strikeouts and 37 in innings pitched. Again, a right-handed, so not a left-hander. But I think it's very interesting that this kid's only 24 years old and has been a major leaguer in a major league organization since 2019. I think that he could easily pitch in this major league bullpen come August or September. So you do lose innings from Hauser, but I do think that Peoples will be able to make up some of the innings, right? He'll be able to maybe jump into the White Sox bullpen at the end of the year and give you something. I think that it's a fairly good return for, again, a guy that wasn't even on the team on opening day, wasn't in your organization. You picked up after a AAA Round Rock start. I know there were people. I don't know the names. I'm not that petty where I'm saving names for receipts when they pick up Adrian Hauser, being like, why'd they pick up this guy? He's got a 5-something ERA. I think we brought up that, Walker McKinven worked with him. Brian Bannister likes guys like that. I think he pitched in Boston or San Francisco. There's some maybe connection there. But they were able to turn Hauser into something. And Mead, Peoples, and Davitt will all be in the organization likely in 2026. And if not, maybe they're able to turn one of these into a bat. I think it's just a fine return for 2 guys that were worth nothing. That's what really 2025 was all about. You may be upset that they didn't trade Luis Robert Jr., but they didn't have a standstill deadline where they turned nothing into nothing. They turned nothing into something, and I think that's a positive. I think you can be frustrated that they don't deal Robert, and I'll get into Mead later. It's more of a story when we talk about the actual roster for 2025, but we'll go into not trading Robert. I think it's a fairly good sign that they didn't trade Robert. There are a lot of ways that somebody that watches the White Sox on a day-in, day-out basis can talk themselves into liking Luis Robert Jr. You can obviously pull yourself back to the memories of 2020 when he's hailed as a Cuban Mike Trout, and they're in Game 3 of the weird 2020 Wild Card Series, and in the top of the second inning, off of Mike Fiers, he hits one 487 feet into Mount Davis. And if you go back and listen to that ESPN broadcast, I think the broadcaster's like, at least Robert Jr., a lot of potential, but it hasn't clicked. And as he says click, that ball is destroyed up into the upper echelon of Mount Davis. You can go back to 2021 where he comes back from an injury and hits 330, right? And you're just like, what's 2022 going to be like? 2022 was iffy because the team goes 81 and 81. He still dealt with injuries, but then you see 2023. and you're like 30-30. That's the first time this has happened since Albert Bell. I wasn't alive. That's very, very exciting. There was such a depth of despair that White Sox fans reached with Robert in 2024 and this organization in general. But I think like the White Sox in 2025, Robert isn't a whole piece. The White Sox aren't a whole piece, this organization. But I think they show signs of potential. And I think it's very positive that although outside of Robert, the payroll for next year is supposed to be like $20 million, I think it's still a great sign that Jerry Reinsdorf isn't balking at the $20 million number and that they're willing to take on that number into the offseason. The biggest question will be, will he get traded in the offseason and we'll be doing this again, just like we did it with Cease and Crochet? Or is Chris Getz saying, no, we don't want to deal him in the offseason unless we get like a Godfather offer, and we are just going to see how he plays in 2026 and do this more at the deadline of 2026. I would rather see Chris Getz say, we know what we got in this piece, and it will be a lot easier to trade him at the deadline, I think, in 2026, because it'll only be worth, $10 million at that point, and then you'll also have a player option that will look more tantalizing. I think it'll be easier to trade him at the deadline of 2026 rather than the offseason of this year, just because teams are hesitant to make big splashes like this. But I would really love to see Getz, Reinsdorf, and the White Sox double down and just let Luis Robert Jr. play center field in 2026. No one is pushing him out. There isn't competition to say this guy needs to be the next center fielder for the Chicago White Sox. Braden Montgomery is likely the next right fielder for the Chicago White Sox. Fingers crossed, maybe George Wilco can come up and be the left fielder at some point. That's not 2026. Left field's probably Andrew Benintendi. But I'd be really thrilled to see Robert get one more crack at it, because I think I know, any White Sox fan that's watched baseball in the past, or White Sox baseball in the past 5 years, knows that that's the most talented player in franchise history, likely since 35. And talent does not equal results. Frank Thomas was an MVP, is a Hall of Famer, is a World Series champion with the Chicago White Sox. Luis Robert Jr. is none of that. He is a Silver Slugger. He is a Gold Glover. Did have a 30-30 season, but we haven't seen it come together. I think that the White Sox can give it one more shot, and I'm glad to see them give it, hopefully, one more shot in 2026. I will be a little bit dismayed if Getz says after today, oh, well, we'll just keep chopping him in the offseason, and our goal is to move him before 2026. I don't think Getz has ever played his cards that publicly, but as we saw today, the White Sox like to let people know what they're thinking. I mean, around 2 p.m., right? Yeah, 2 p.m., we knew that the White Sox were likely keeping Luis Robert Jr. Mark Feinsand said, yeah, there's not much going on for Luis Robert Jr. And then the Mets traded for a center fielder. I can't think of who it is. I think, the Phillies traded for Bader. The Mets traded for some center fielder. The San Diego Padres traded for Ramon Laureano. It didn't work out for Robert, and I think that's mainly because no team came proper, if I can use Herb Lawrence's former speaking. No team came proper, and thankfully the White Sox just kept it on. We do have some quotes coming in from Scott Merkin. Thank you to Alex Root for shouting it out. Do we have a break coming up, Katie? Let's take a break right now. We do have some quotes coming out from Chris Getz per Scott Merkin. Thank you to Alex Root for sending them over. So we'll talk about the future, because Getz is, maybe not playing his hand, but letting you know what's happening. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast, presented by Bet365. We want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. It's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything that you need to elevate your summer. It's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary, with locations in the city like Wrigleyville and River North, and to the suburbs like Champaign and South Beloit. If you are starting out, Sunnyside has great bud tenders who can help you through their vast menu. If you are an expert, they have easy in-store and online pickup, so you could just walk in and make sure you use our code Visit Sunnyside.shop for Bright Buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions do apply. For existing users, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off 1 Cresco Lab branded item. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, Bright Buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. We also want to let you know about our friends over at... hold on. Buffering. All right, cool. Circa Sportsbook. This is why we pre-tape these. We want to let you know about our great friends over at Circa Sports. Whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service, so you can bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Whether it's spreads, props, futures, or in-game wagering, Circa Sports has it all. You can fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime with the great people over at Circa Sportsbook. And the best part about Circa Sportsbook, they run this beautiful Circa resort in Las Vegas. And the people that run that sportsbook run the app. And if you have a problem, you can talk to an actual person within 10 minutes. You don't have to talk to a chatbot. If you have an actual issue with your money, Circa Sports will handle you like a human, like you should be. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Ooh, do we have to take the temp? Ooh. Welcome back to the CHGO White Sox podcast, presented to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Let's take the temp with our friends over at Four Seasons. 866-4 Seasons. Now is the time probably to get your air conditioning checked out. If you are having an issue with your air conditioning, do not wait. Call our friends over at Four Seasons. They take care of not only air conditioning, but plumbing, electrical, and heating. But if you have an issue, it's going to be kind of mild over the next 5 days. Go get your air conditioning fixed before it goes back into this hellhole, all right? So let's take the temperature with our friends over at Four Seasons. Scott Merkin does have some tweets with Chris Getz. Scott Merkin quoting Getz saying, "We anticipate Robert being here beyond 2025, and we are open to adding to this team this offseason." I don't know how real that is, but if we do look at their 2026 payroll, it's not much. They have a lot of guys making the minimum for the Chicago White Sox. And I don't know why I'm going to this because I have roster resource open right now. So the White Sox have really nothing on their payroll. They don't have to have buyout money due for Moncada anymore. The White Sox won't be paying for Andrew Vaughn going to Milwaukee. There's no more money owed to Baltimore for Eloy Jimenez. There's no more buyout for John Brebbia. No more money paid for Austin Slater. No more money paid for Adrian Hauser. No more money paid for Matt Tice. No more buyout for Martin Maldonado. So they get through some of that as well. But I think the only players that are on, there it is. Sorry. Benny worth $17.1 million. Robert worth $20 million. Martin Perez has a mutual option for $10 million. They might run that back. I don't know if, actually they won't run that back. They'll decline that. He made 3.5 this year. I could see them running that back, meaning they could sign Martin Perez again and see if they want to give him a shot because he wasn't terrible out of the get, but then he runs into that shoulder injury. He's going to be pitching for the end of the year too, but the White Sox will likely decline that $10 million option. And I think that's a buyout tied to it. So if they decline that option, he gets like $2.5 million or $5 million for that. So they're mainly it was like an $8.5 million deal, but since I'm getting too bogged down into Martin Perez's contract. The point is, the only people that they are going to be paying that aren't in arbitration or pre-arb is Andrew Benintendi and Luis Robert Jr. Maybe they run it back with Martin Perez, but he won't be worth $10 million. The free agent classes aren't that interesting, but if Robert's in center field, I don't think Montgomery being in right field's too out of the question. Benny would likely be their DH. I think you need a left fielder. I think that you could look into the first base market because Teal and Caro are likely going to be your catcher. Maybe you DH Caro against a lefty, so that way you can have Teal get in the lineup. And then, Caro's been tearing up against lefties. I think they'll probably look into someone gaining positional flexibility, whether that's Teal learning first base, Caro learning first base, both of them. But then you look at third base, maybe it's Montgomery. I doubt they add a shortstop. I think Montgomery likely should be the shortstop in 2026. So Montgomery at shortstop, Mydroth at second base, Vargas / Mead at third base, and then first base and left field is where you add. The rotation I'm interested in, but I don't know if they need to add necessarily. I think that you could still see Jonathan Cannon on the team. I think that you'd still see Sean Burke on the team. You'd see Davis Martin on the team, and then you'd see Shane Smith come back. So that's 4 of the spots that they could fill. Maybe they want to add a little bit more competition. Martin, I could see move to the pen and then trying to just ratchet up his velocity to like 97 and have him go fastball slider because his changeup's like, it's nice, and maybe he's able to bust it out then, but he doesn't really seem like he can go like 6 to 7. I think Cannon's something, but maybe they add a starter. But I think Schultz is even kind of knocking on the door of the opening day rotation, and if not, he's probably in the rotation by like June or May. So if you are looking for the future of 2026, hopefully Getz isn't lying through his teeth and they trade him in the offseason. But if they add a left fielder and they add a first baseman, and they're playing like the 8-4 team that's hitting 1.82 homers per game post All-Star break, could they win 80 games? Katie, I know that you do not produce this show and do not watch the White Sox, so like I'm really just talking to myself. But could they win 80 games? Am I being stupid?
The giant pause you took tells me no. That is my analysis of that question. Is that you paused for a good like 120 seconds, and that tells me no, they cannot win 80 games.
All right, cool. Cool. Yeah, I'm glad that this is at least the narrative. I'm glad that after 2024, Getz did get his first year this year with Venable, and I'm glad what he's seeing is these young kids may be ready. Let's see if they are, because we know that Will Venable's ready. This team, I think, has a shot this year to toy with the 98 loss to 107 loss barrier, right? As long as that doesn't shift to 110 or 112, and they're still able to like get close to 100 losses, a 20-plus win jump is huge. And obviously, they were the worst team ever in 2024. But with Montgomery the way he's swinging, with Mydroth having as hot of a spurts as he has, with the rotation being pretty all right, with the really only major things you need to spend on would be like left field and first base. If you keep Robert and Benintendi, you're still paying 2 guys $37 million. You want to get something back on that team. You're just adding a left fielder, and they did a pretty good job doing that with Tauchman. Tauchman's likely going to be back. Do they just have left field be Tauchman as a left-handed platoon and get another Austin Slater as a right-handed platoon? I'm really talking myself into this team winning 80 games. I mean, the Twins just sold off $440 million worth of salary. Cleveland just got rid of Bieber. They obviously have J-Ram, so I never want to write them off, but Clase might be suspended for a lifetime if he's gambling with our friends over at Bet365. Should I say that?
You ask for permission after you say it. That's great.
I mumbled it, so maybe no one heard it. Hit that thumbs up button. We got 166 people watching. But I really do think that this division's kind of out there. I mean, look at the Royals. They obviously have Bobby Witt Jr., but if things don't go right for them, their season's gone into the toilet. The Twins, again, aren't really that much of a threat. The Tigers, obviously, they're 60-something games, 60-something wins right now. But we even saw last year, like, they had a terrible first half, had a great second half. This year, they had a really great first half. Well, they have a terrible second half. I don't think that there's a true dominant force in the AL Central. And the fact that Jerry Reinsdorf is at least letting Chris Getz play out this Luis Robert Jr. thing for 2 more months and risking another possible injury for Luis Robert Jr. and maybe not having him even being a sellable asset this offseason, at least like that's the thing that, hopefully is at least entertaining to some teams, tantalizing to some teams, because if he's not even interesting in the offseason, then really why did we keep him for $20 million? But I don't know. Maybe this team wins 80 games, and maybe I'm stupid. Do we have to take a break? Feels like we need to take a break.
We can if you want to.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. I got to let you know about some of our great friends, like Our friends over at Ray Chevy. If you are looking for a brand new car, Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake is firing off fireworks with big savings all month long. Come in today to shop the Freedom to Save sales event and drive home with $10,000 off MSRP on new Chevrolet models. Or check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. As the top-selling Chevy dealer in the Midwest, they're able to keep their prices competitive, so you'll be able to get a great deal. Plus, Ray's Price Promise lets you shop confidently because the price you see is the price you pay. Go see for yourself. Visit our partner at their convenient location on Route 12 in Fox Lake, and don't miss out on their Freedom to Save sales event going on all month long for $10,000 off MSRP on new Chevrolet models. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. We also want to let you know about our great, wonderful friends over at Mint Mobile. If you are trying to, save up this summer, maybe you got some big plans, maybe you got some barbecues, maybe you got a family reunion, maybe you got a 3-day weekend, maybe you're trying to go up the coast of Michigan, I don't know. The last thing you want to be doing is sweating. Ooh, can we afford the $40 more of gas? Change your wireless bill and you won't have to worry. Make the switch to Mint Mobile. With Mint Mobile, you can get the coverage and speed you're used to, but for way less money. And for a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you'll be chilling literally and financially. All plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. So ditch the overpriced wireless and get 3 months of unlimited service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. New customer offer with 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month. Upfront payment of $45 required. Limited time new customer offer for 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabits on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. Visit mintmobile.com/White Sox. Visit mintmobile.com/White Sox. Back here on the CHGO White Sox postgame show. Let us know what your comments are. I think we got 13 favorites. If you have any thoughts, Katie's going to be going through them. I think we have over 100 people liking and only 50 likes. I'm not trying to be rude here. It's free. To the other people, 137 that are watching, and the 60 of you or something. I don't know. Joey's my math guy. Oh, 80. I think it's 80. 130 minus 50. I think that's around 80. The 80 of you that haven't liked, please give me a like. I really appreciate it. Give us a like for Katie. 90?
Well, I'm looking at, there's 141 people watching and only 51 likes, so 90 people.
89. Yeah, there you go. Oh, yeah,
Right.
That's 90. I should not argue with you. All right, let's go to our favorites here, and let's see what White Sox fans are saying. Watson Roadster said, well, that's a bit underwhelming. I agree with you because I think a lot of the buildup was Luis Robert Jr. I really didn't think that they were keeping Luis Robert Jr. I thought that the report a week ago from Robert Murray saying that the White Sox would be willing to keep him was a little bit of a bait. The guy was on a 9-game hitting streak, and he missed a couple of games. Like, it felt like he was getting injured. So it felt like, oh, we have no worries about him in 2026. Of course, we'd be willing up to play the contract kind of as bait for teams to go and get him, but it didn't even work out. So I guess underwhelming is fair. Sam says, Sean, why didn't the White Sox trade Corey Lee for cash considerations? I'll hang up and listen. I know Sam's trying to be funny. I know Sam thinks he's a little stand-up comedian. But honestly, Sam, why didn't they trade Corey Lee? They should have traded Corey Lee for cash considerations. They should have traded Corey Lee for something. Poor Corey Lee is just going to sit in Charlotte the whole rest of the year and do nothing, hitting over 800. He's a real interesting, kind of piece that I thought could have been dealt this deadline, and you make a good point. They didn't get anything for him. I'm glad it wasn't cash considerations, but they could have gotten something for Corey Lee, and they got nothing for Corey Lee. So I don't know. I'll hang up and listen to Chris Getz. I don't know why I didn't trade Corey Lee. Could have traded Corey Lee. Didn't trade Corey Lee. Melissa Sage Bolenbach saying thrilled Talkman is still here. That's the one guy that I saw a lot of people being like, well, why wasn't he dealt? And if you watched the last game against the Phillies on Wednesday, every time they cut to Mike Talkman running, it was like me running. Like, my knee hurts. I'm 27. He looks like a 27-year-old that doesn't stretch and hasn't run in a bit. And I know he's a professional athlete with, amazing hitting stats right now, but I think the concern about Talkman is, can he play the field? Will he have another faux pas like in Cleveland where he's running to home and the hamstring gives out? I think the White Sox are fine to let him rest for 2025. And since he's under arbitration for next year, sign him for cheap and run back the Mike Tauchman experience, and that's why I think he could possibly be a part of the left field mix. And again, maybe they don't even want to put the pressure on Braden Montgomery to be the opening day right fielder, and you see Tauchman back out there in 2026. I'm fine with it. Let's go Palatine Pounder. It's the summer of Mike Tauchman forever and always. OJ's glove. What did people think we were going to get for a 32-year-old pitcher who has 60 innings pitched? We got 3 players for him. And OJ's glove, 3 is more than 1. Katie, I know, again, you're not kind of versed to math.
Can confirm. Yep.
3 is more than 1. So there we go. Husky Pardo saying, at least we get to see the downfall of the Twins. Amen. That's where you and I agree, Husky. It's where the Twins can just go F themselves. And I am so happy to see them ship off Carlos Correa, that cheater. I'm so happy to see them get rid of Duran. I'm so happy to see them get rid of Griffin Jacks. I'm a little sad that Louis Varland's a Blue Jay and not a White Sox, because I would love to see Gus and Louis Varland on the same team. Beggars can't be choosers, but I agree with you. Love to see the downfall of the Twins. And hey, I mean, go look at the Ishbias. They knew. The Ishbias left that sinking ship and came over to our side. It's a good time to be a White Sox fan. F-Zero saying both Chicago teams did absolutely nothing of great importance. Here's the thing, F-Zero. One team sucks. And the White Sox really didn't need to do anything of great importance because their most valued asset is Luis Robert Jr. Their most valued asset in 2026 will be Luis Robert Jr. They could still trade him next year. They have Kyle Tucker being the Cubs. They have Kyle Tucker. They went out and gave up Cam Smith for Kyle Tucker, choosing Matt Shaw to be their third baseman. They still choose Matt Shaw to be their third baseman at the Major League Trade Deadline, but they don't go all in on the year that they have Kyle Tucker. I'm not trying to make this a Cubs versus Sox thing. I am just trying to talk as a baseball person, as somebody that is a Chicagoan that has to listen to Cubs fans. That is complete BS on the side of the Cubs. The fact that they went out and added Andrew Kittredge, old friend Mike Soroka, and Willie Castro. Like, I like Willie Castro. I've seen him play a lot with the Twins. Plays every single position. That is not the deadline that they should have had. There is zero reason why you should be holding on to Owen Casey. The only reason you're holding on to Owen Casey is because you're terrified that you'll lose the bidding war to Kyle Tucker because you won't come proper to that bidding war. Hauser says, I'm fine with the fat hipster says, I'm fine with the Hauser trade. I agree. Sam Marr says, sorry to see Hauser go, but got some potential back. I agree too. And hey, Hauser can always just come back. Housey says Hauser trade was really good. Hauser can just come back. Maybe this is an organization that treated him well. We talked about them signing a 5th starter. Maybe it's Adrian Hauser. You know who's a free agent in 2026? Adrian Hauser. You know who might want to just come back to Chicago? You probably guessed it at this point, Adrian Hauser. I'm fine with the Hauser development. If you told me in March that they were trading Adrian Hauser at the deadline, I would have been shocked, especially because they don't sign him until May. Like, hello, Nostradamus. Wonderful to meet you. Kevin M. Hauser had 9 quality starts, 11 total career. Hauser had. Can you read this? I don't know how to read this. He's just saying it's an amazing return by Getz.
Career 4 year. I think it was like career best 4 ERA and 136 WHIP. I'm reading that as career best.
I think he's saying Hauser had 9 quality starts, 11 in his career. His career ERA was 4, and the WHIP was 136. So with all of that, that's an amazing return by Getz. And I agree. Sam also saying Robert is solid defensive center fielder and should improve now that the Sox have committed to him. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I mean, we've been saying that for years. I just want to see one season just like 2023, but just even a hair better because I know it's in there for him. Blank Name mentions any of these guys worth monitoring for Hauser. I think Mead is the guy. That is the meat of the trade. He is from Australia, which is pretty fun. All right, not a lot of Australians out there, and he did get close to becoming a top 100 prospect. He's played in 2023, 2024, and 2025, and has never really just cracked the Rays roster. Career OPS plus in the major leagues, 320 at-bats, 78 OPS plus. However, in 115 at-bats this year, 226 average, 318 on-base percentage, 339 slugging percentage, 85 OPS plus. Not crazy, but again, the fact that he is an infielder, it shouldn't be so important that he, should be a dominant hitter. However, I'm a dork. Love going on StatCast. You can go and see some of the peripheral numbers that he has. He is not qualified for any of the stats, but you could see that his bat speed is 73.2 miles per hour, which is above average. You could see that his chase percent is 24%, which is above average. And you can see that his whiff rate is 19.8%, which is above average. When you also look at his fly ball percent, it's grown this year. He's never been over 40%. It was 38%, 39%. Now it's 41%. And when you even look a little bit further, he's not pulling those fly balls. One thing that Ryan Fuller has been able to do, and this is from @NotCease, is improve the pulled fly ball percentage of White Sox hitters. This is from NotCease, so I'm giving credit to him. There's 4 stats that you'll hear. Pull percentage, or 2 stats, I guess. The 2024 pull percentage, the 2025 pull percentage, the 2024 pull air percentage, and the 2025 pull air percentage. Pull air percentage is fly balls in the air. Wait, I forgot I even gave you this graphic. Look, you can actually look at it. Wow. I'm a proper host. I planned something. Miguel Vargas in 2024 pulled the ball 42.1% of the time. He's seen a small increase, but small is important. We've seen Miguel Vargas hit a lot more home runs in 2025 than in 2024. But the pull percentage gone up about 1% for Vargas. The pull air percentage from 23 to 24%. Lenyn Sosa went from 15.9% to 19.8%. Andrew Benintendi, 21.6 to 28.4%. Tauchman, 12.2 to 26.4. Michael A. Taylor, still about the same. I don't know even why NotCease included that one. Same with Rojas. That one really hasn't improved, but those two are older veterans. But you could see Slater, who does get moved, 8.3 to 13.5. That was a guy that worked previously with Fuller as well in Baltimore. You could see Robert, he's increased by 3%, and you could see Baldwin, he's increased by 2% as well. And I believe the bolded numbers were career highs. So you could see career highs for Vargas, Sosa, Benintendi, Tauchman, Slater, and Baldwin. It's a positive. And if you're looking at Meade, how he could possibly work out for the White Sox is if he starts to use his bat speed to pull some fly balls. It might not be a, 4-win player, but if he could come in and just be a 1-WAR player off the bench and give you solid performances, that's fine. I think he's interesting. What was it? Beard loves cards. Another infielder that hits 220, but Meade hits in Australian. So there you go. It's way different when it's. I think they have a completely different way of batting average. I think it's it's below the equator and all the way to the other side.
Oh, I didn't even think about the equator.
It's the equator.
That's huge.
It's the baseball is way different in the equator. You actually hit it from the stands into the field. If you hit the third base bag, that I think is the best in Australian. But anyways, anything else that's coming in through the chat? Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. We got about 40. We're at about 40 minutes, so we got about 5 minutes left. I think when you look at this roster, and that's probably what I should get to for at least 2025, what this team will look like for the White Sox. If Colson Montgomery is not playing the majority at shortstop, I think that is where the White Sox will fail. Tauchman will likely be in right field. I think Colson should be the third baseman. I think Mydroth should be the second baseman. I'm fine with Vargas playing first base. If you're looking for ways to get Meade in, he can be a replacement for... I don't even know. I mean, honestly, I don't even care. I want to, and I know that he's had like a -5 outs above average at that position. I want to see more Vargas at third, because I think this will be the last chance to even see him at third base. So if I'm being honest, I want to see Vargas at third base. I want to see Montgomery at shortstop. I want to see Mydroth at second base, and I want to see Meade at first base. And even then with Meade, he's not super interesting to me. Maybe they can even work him back down to AAA, because the guy that I'm really interested in is Tim Elko. He just returned to AAA off of a rehab assignment. Of course, he hits a 17th homer in his first rehab assignment game because all that guy does is hit. I would like to see him play first base because, like, when else is he going to get the opportunity? I'm trying to see if Meade has any other options. But maybe you just honestly send Meade down and he's a part of the 2026 roster when you have more of a vision on what Vargas, what Sosa, and what Elko is. Meade has one more option, and I think that that's already been used for this year, so they can send him back and forth between AAA. So I think that you should cut Rojas, activate Elko, and that should be your infield for the rest of the year. Vargas at third, Elko at first, Montgomery at short, Mydroth at second, and then working in Caro and Teal at that DH spot. I'm fine with forcing Benny playing left. And if it means Benny in left and Tauchman getting some days off, I think that's ultimately fine because Tauchman is kind of needed for 2026. And you look at his hamstrings right now, I don't think that he's going to be in great shape. And maybe that's, maybe we see him go to the IL. Watson Roadster, I know you're saying this negatively. Tim Elko equals Adam Dunn, but Adam Dunn had like 300 homers in his career. I have 0 homers in my career. Tim Elko has 2. So if he could become Adam Dunn and less like me, that would be a real great improvement. So Adam Dunn's a pretty good thing to shoot for if you are Tim Elko. That guy got paid a decent amount of money. Tim Elko got paid, what, $10K being drafted by the White Sox? I don't know about that. Kevin, I'm jumping in. Agreed, like Elko. Hope he can get a shot again during the last 2 months this year. Victor Von Doom in the chat saying, Sean, any guesses on why the White Sox didn't trade Aaron Savale? One, he's bad. I mean, we talked about Hauser. Some people are kind of upset about the return for Hauser. Hauser, the most appealing part about Hauser is obviously he's having the best year of his career, but he's cheap. They signed him for like $1.0 million. The reason the Vaughn and Savale trade worked was because Savale was making more than Vaughn. Vaughn was making about $6 million, Savale about $8 million. Savale was worth like $4 million for a guy that's like really, I don't think that he was worth anything to a team, especially with that price tag. So at the end of the day, that is the inning eater. And that's why Hauser shouldn't have stayed on the team. They waited close to the last second to trade Hauser, but we kind of knew around 2 p.m. their full efforts were towards trading Hauser, not even Robert. Savale is just an inning eater to get you to the end of the year because with the injuries to Martin, Cannon, Schultz is down, Clevenger's been up and down. Perez as well. You need somebody to eat innings, and Savale will just be that. So I don't think there was ever an offer that was interesting enough, and I think that, again, no team actually wanted him. Alabama Rule says, incompetent managing, ridiculous, overvaluing Robert is foolish. Okay. I mean, that's fine. I don't, but like, the thing is that I can't get like upset saying someone's incompetent about this is who's going to play center field for the White Sox next year. The free agent class isn't that interesting. They don't have anyone in the system to call up. I think that there wasn't enough value for them to move off. They needed probably somebody in that package to play center field for them. They didn't get it. They could possibly still get that next year. I don't understand what makes it incompetent. I think it actually shows a fairly amount of competence and rationalism from Chris Getz to say, hey, all I have to do is go to my boss and say, can we keep him for $20 million? The answer is yes. Great, we'll keep him for $20 million if nobody can reach our price. That just seems like rational GMsmanship. I don't know. Someone asked also about Sosa. Jimmy Two Times, which is honestly a pretty great name. Jimmy Two Times is a great name. Jimmy Two Times, show up more. Sosa is here, and I think that's the best thing that I could say for him. The real issue with Sosa, and maybe he works his way into a DH spot where when Caro is catching, Teal can hit as a DH against right-handed pitchers. Maybe you can flip that for Sosa, where Sosa is the DH against lefties. I just don't think Sosa is an interesting enough bat with the lack of defense that he plays. Nick Garr over at Sox on 35th talked about the comparison between Vargas and Sosa and how they're very similar hitters, and Sosa even has less of a sample size. I just think that Vargas, with his size, his strength, and his ability to play first base, that makes him a lot more interesting. Sosa just really isn't interesting to me. I don't see him going to another team and having a Romy Gonzalez resurgence. I think that they missed out on Romy, and the Red Sox are doing a good job of only playing him against lefties, or mostly lefties. But Sosa, I don't think will have that sort of jump because, again, Sosa doesn't have a defensive position, and no one wants to pay or play a 6-foot little guy to be their designated hitter. I just don't think that that's going to be Sosa's bag. I think it's just done. Final question here, Kevin M. Hey, Sean, what would make you feel good about the team rest of the year? 500 development. I just want to see Colson Montgomery do well. I mean, honestly, like at the end of the day, if Robert isn't injured, if Colson Montgomery finishes with he's already at 5. If he finishes with 12 homers, and if Vargas does hit over 20 homers, I'll be interested. And then, I think Mydroth, Teal, and Caro are cherries on top. I'm not even putting too much pressure on Caro and Teal because Caro specifically, he's the youngest catcher in Major League Baseball. They've shown enough, I think, already to just see what it's like in 2026. So as long as they don't flounder, Kevin, as long as they don't look out of sorts and they're able to stay competitive, I think someone said, I think it was Jerry saying, could they go 23-30? That would be under 100 losses. If they go even 20-36, I think that's really good. So I think that's positive. He didn't say that today. Jerry said that yesterday. I just have a stupid memory for where I'm remembering comments from streams ago. Anyways, that's going to do it. We've done 45 minutes. Katie's right. We had over 140 people liking. We're about to end the stream. This was free. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. If you do want to become a diehard and chat with White Sox fans like yourself, sign up, become a diehard today. You could join our diehard Discord channel. I want to thank Katie for producing the show. I'm Sean Anderson. Thank you for hanging out with us here in Studio B of our CHGO offices. We will be back on Sunday to recap the White Sox and Angels series. Hopefully, we're talking about more Colson Montgomery homers. Oh, there's no end screen. Boo. Boo, I got to hang on. I'm going to...
We all silly like the mayor.